Okay, so let's continue, no? So we go on with the comparative anatomy, no? So yung mga important topics lang yung ating i-mention or i-discuss in this part. And also, meron yung mga parts na hindi actually mga comparison, but some informations that is very important also to you, no? So comparative anatomy. So let's start with the cranium, no? So, apart from the structure, apart with the size, there are things na magkakaiba yung different cranium of domestic animals, no? So, but first we check with the dog, no? This is our patient this morning, no? So, parang pinaga, no? And you can see that yung layers na na-affect dito, no? So, what are the layers on the skull? So, from the outside until you reach the brain, no? So, ano yung mga layers na yon, no? So, you can start with the skin, no? The skin. After the skin, we have the connective tissue. And then we have the aponeurosis. Next to aponeurosis, we have the loose areolar connective tissue. And then we have the pericranium. Yung pericranium, yun yung nagde-line before yung sa skull mismo, before sa bone, no? And then we will reach the different meninges, no? So we can see, I think this dog, na severe na yung kanyang meninges, according to my colleague, no, na open na yung kanyang brain, no? But this patient still conscious, walang any neurologic sign when the patient came in, but parang ano siya, nasasaktan lang kaya hindi siya masyadong gumagalaw. But fortunately, the patient survived, no? And then nasa clinic pa. Hopefully, mag-survive within 24 to 48 hours. No? So, we have the skin. We have the, dito yung scalp until reaching the periosteum, no? Skin, we have the connective tissue, aponeurosis, and then we have the loose areolar tissue, and then uh, the bone, no? And then after the bone, going inside, we have the dura mater, arachnoid mater, and the pia mater. These are the meninges of the CNS. The same, hindi lang sa central nervous system or hindi lang doon sa brain merong meninges, no? Also the spinal cord. Meron ding DAP layer na dura mater, arachnoid mater, and then the pia mater, no? So, these meninges, minsan dito mas commonly nagkakaroon ng bleeding na sa with regards to the brain pagka merong bleed after trauma, dito na nangyayari yung mga bleeding, no? Okay, this is the patient after during the surgery, no? After na planning, no? We were thinking of euthanasia earlier, but the patient was okay, maganda, conscious siya, and nag-respond, maganda yung mentation niya. So, we proceeded with the surgery, and fortunately, after the surgery, okay pa siya. And hopefully, within 24 hours, still okay. So, para maganda yung kanyang prognosis, no? But then, as I said, we reached the brain, no? Nag-bleed na dito sa part na to. So, kapag klinose ito, there will be a problem with the pressure, no? Pwedeng kapag ka-clinose, magkaroon na ng pressure, and na-close na yung intracranial pressure din doon, pwedeng mag-build up habang kasi 'di ba yung ating na healing, there will be inflammation, no? Kapag nagkaroon ng inflammation, mas lalaki yung mga parts na dito kasi nga mamamaga, and there will be increase kahit na open na ditong cranium niya, pwedeng mag-build up ng intracranial pressure that will further press down to the brain, then it can cause a problem. So in cases na trauma that leads to increased cranial pressure. Madami kasing cause ng intracranial pressure, no, kapag nagkaroon ng bleeding sa brain bleeding, pwedeng dahil sa madaming blood, it will increase the pressure. It can affect yung brain, it can lead to neurologic problem, no? So very commonly na ginagamit natin to reduce the intracranial bleeding are the diuretics, mannitol, no? Yun yung very common na ginagamit, no? Usually kapag paano natin nalalaman na mayroong let's say head trauma sa patient or nagbi-build up ng pressure sa mga cases namin sa dogs, no, kapag mayroong bleeding sa eyes, no, we suspect na the patient also has a problem or na-affect din yung kanyang brain. So together with that we give mannitol diuretics, no. Pwede rin natin gamitin yung mannitol sa kapag nagkaroon ng pressure din sa mata, no? So ikaroon ng glaucoma, no? Yun yung usually na ginagamit natin, no? Intraocular pressure, no? Okay, this is after the surgery. So I was mentioning about the epidural and subdural, no? So kapag ka epidural bleeding before the dura, no? And then kapag ka subdural hematoma after the dura mater, no? Yung bleeding nasa brain na, no? Yung epidural hematoma or epidural bleeding, yung blood na hindi pa nakapasok doon sa brain, no? Okay. So meron tayong terms dito, the leptomeninges, no? If you, I don't know if you came across this term, the leptomeninges, ang inaano nito is the both the pia mater and the arachnoid mater, they are collectively known as the leptomeninges, while the pachymeninx is the dura mater. So remember, leptomeninges, the pia mater and arachnoid mater. The pachymeninx is the dura mater. Okay, so cerebrospinal fluid, no? We know na very important itong cerebrospinal fluid in diagnosis, no? Kapag merong meningitis or encephalitis or many infections na parang very rare na nadadiagnose or some conditions, no? It's very important to do the CSF tap, no? Kapag si CSF tap tayo, usually we do epidural, no? Epidural tap, no? So yung cerebrospinal fluid, where does it come from? Saan nanggagaling ang cerebrospinal fluid? I hope you know. No, this is very common. I think a common knowledge that or trivia na tinatanong lagi. Let's for example sa mga quiz bees, no? So we know that the cerebrospinal fluid is originated from or produced by the meron ba? Okay. Meron ba? Alam nyo? Pwede sa chat box kung ano, parang ano lang, parang patalastas. Meron ba? So, sorry. So, the cerebrospinal fluid is produced by the choroid plexus, no? Choroid plexus. Itong choroid plexus na to, they are present in the ventricle sometimes doon and then some other parts, no? But mostly from the sa mga ventricles nandoon malapit yung mga choroid plexuses, no? That produces the cerebrospinal fluid, no? So from the choroid plexus or from the brain, no? So it goes into the spine. So ano ba yung route ng cerebrospinal fluid? So nag-start siya sa lateral ventricle and then from the lateral ventricle to the meron ba dito? Ay wala. From the lateral ventricle to the third ventricle via the interventricular foramen of Monro, no? Or foramen of Monro. And then from third ventricle to the fourth ventricle, we have the aqueduct of Sylvius, no? Or the cerebral aqueduct. Ano? And then from the fourth ventricle, it goes to the papunta na pababa na doon sa pababa na doon sa uh, pababa na doon sa spinal cord, no, pababa na doon. And merong mga foramen na dadaanan itong cerebrospinal fluid from the fourth ventricle. One is the foramen of Luschka, and one is the foramen of Magendie. Foramen of Luschka and Magendie. Yun yung dadaanan ng cerebrospinal fluid from the fourth ventricle to the other parts, no, sa subarachnoid space, and then papunta din doon sa spinal cord. So from the fourth ventricle to the spinal cord, we have the foramen of Magendie or foramen of Luschka. So remember, I don't know if this is commonly asked doon sa board exam, pero when we did the board exam, wala naman ito, no? Pero I think because we are doing specialization and madami nang may interest doon sa neurology, medyo na-open na itong mga terms na to or mga ganito. I remember sa ibang reviewers or lecturers, they are also lecturing neuroanatomy na or nervous physiology, no? So it's more complicated or more complex. But itong cerebrospinal fluid flow, CSF flow, this is one of the most common na dapat alam ng mga students or alam ng mga practitioners. So it starts with the choroid plexus, where the cerebrospinal fluid is formed. And the choroid plexus usually madami doon sa lateral ventricle. So sa lateral ventricle, it goes to the third ventricle, no, via the foramen of Monro, or other term is interventricular foramen. And then from the third ventricle, it goes to the fourth ventricle via the aqueducts of Sylvius or the cerebral aqueduct. And then from the fourth ventricle, it goes to the subarachnoid space. It goes to the spinal cord, pababa na, via the foramen of Luschka and Magendie. Okay. Na ano ba natin to? Na common na encounter ba natin to? Can you do react if you did? Foramen of Monro, cerebral aqueduct. So Monro, Sylvius, and then Luschka. Ayan. Foramen of Monro, aqueduct of Sylvius, and Luschka or Magendie, no? Okay. So one review we said na yes, you encounter this one. Okay. Okay. So hopefully sana lumabas to, no? And alam na ninyo, no? Alam ninyo. Not only in this review but in other reviews, no? Okay. So let's continue. So remember that the CSF flow. Okay. So let's proceed with the skull, no? So we know that we have different types of skulls sa dog. So it depends on the breed. So we have the brachycephalic, mesenterocephalic, and then the dolichocephalic type of skull, no? So most commonly ang difference nito is this nasal, the length of the nasal bone, no. Ito rin yung problem ng mga brachycephalic dogs, no. The more or the less na space doon sa conduction space ng patient, so the more na hindi nila nare-regulate yung temperature that is entering the lungs, no. So hindi rin madali yung pag change ng kanilang or pag adjust ng kanilang body temperature. So kaya ang very common na mahirap na i-manage yung mga mayroong heat stroke, lalo na yung mga short-snouted na breed ng dog. So although this is one of the things that you first know sa osteology, no, kasi ito yung laging unang dinidiscuss, pero I don't think na madaming lumalabas na ganito sa board exam, pero it's okay na alam ninyo itong bagay na to, no, kasi sabi ko nga baka pagka nilabas baka magsisi kayo, no? Baka basta you have to know this three types of skull, no? So let's start with the skull of the dog, no. Ang pinaka main feature nito is yung incomplete orbit, no. I mentioned this yesterday, no. In the orbit, kapag ka sa live patient, parang complete siya, no. If you see a dog, parang complete naman yung orbit niya. The thing that completes this is a ligament, no. Yun yung nagko-complete, no. And also, it's well developed yung kanyang sagittal crest, and of course there is no cornual process. Of course, ang mga meron lang cornual process are those species or animals that has horn. And then for the horse, ang main feature nito ang facial crest na extension nito ng zygomatic arc. Ayan, complete na yung kanyang orbit if you can see here. Complete na complete. And then merong variations, although it's not on it's not on the bone. So meron tayong mga pouch dito. So we'll be discussing that later on. And then we can see that it's a long tapering, yung slender yung nasal bone niya. And yung between the molars and the incisors dito, meron tayong tinatawag na bar. Okay. So ethmoid bone is absent. We'll see animals that present yung ethmoid bone, sample dogs. And then of course, absence of cornual process. And together with cat, ang horse, meron siyang interparietal bone, no? So other animals, they have interparietal bone when they were young, pero nagfuse kasi, and then mawawala na pagka nag-adult, no? So for horse and a cat, they are the only animals that has interparietal bone or prominent or distinct interparietal bone. Okay. So remember, zygomatic facial crest, complete orbit, and the bar. And then absent ethmoid bone for horse. And then I just read this. The optic nerves of the horse are especially susceptible to shearing injury after head trauma, which may lead to prechiasmal blindness. If there are questions na which of the following species ang pinaka-common that can suffer from prechiasmal blindness due to shearing injury, so that will be the horse, no, because yung kanyang optic nerve ay very susceptible to shearing injury. We talk about the guttural pouch, no. This is a pouch doon sa below sa ear ng horse, no. It's very important. This is has something to do with the or helps in sa respiratory system, no. So normally ito ay very common na nagkakaroon ng infection. Example, empyema, no. So a pus in the guttural pouch, it's parang nag-start doon sa infection, systemic infection and nag-deposit ng pus doon sa kanyang guttural pouch, tinatawag natin na guttural pouch empyema, no? So very common na bacteria na nag-infect dito is Streptococcus equi na nagkukos ng strangles. There are also other variations ng infection. Let's say for example, fungal infection dun sa guttural pouch. Meron tayong tinatawag na guttural pouch mycosis, no? So, if you suspect, sometimes kapag ka medyo parang mumps yung itsura niya, ito bang lumalaki and then medyo matigas and mainit, then that can be suspected of guttural pouch infection, example empyema or mycosis, no? Next, we jump to ox, no? Facial crest is present in ox. This is absent in camel. Ethmoid bone is unpaired, forming the rostral wall of the cranium. Remember that ethmoid bone is absent in horse. And there is a presence of cornual process, no? Meron siyang cornual process dito, no? Sa kanyang horn. Also, ang merong corneal process would be the goat. And then pig for the key features, key characteristics of the pig, it also has incomplete orbit. And there's another bone, another extra bone doon sa kanyang snout. We call it the os rostri. And of course, wala siyang cornual process. Again, incomplete orbit, just like the dog. And then we have the os rostri. And then absent cornual process, no? So, rostri, rostral, no? So, sa snout niya, no? So, remember also the other specialized bone. We have the os cordis, no? Sa heart. And then we also have the os penis, dun sa penis, especially sa dog, no? And os rostri for the pig, doon sa kanyang snout. And then the mandible, no? The mandible is very important for life, no? For prehension, for eating, for everything, no? The most common part na fracture with regards to the mandible or the jaw is the condylar process, no? Kapag sa neck ng condyle, dito most common ang nafa-fracture, no? And dito din, if you see a dog na parang yung jaw niya is nakalaylay na, possible na merong fracture dito. Kasi wala na siyang connection doon sa taas, the temporomandibular joint, no? Temporal and the mandible, yung joint na nandoon, it cannot hold anymore. That's why nagkakaroon na ng drop jaw. So drop jaw kapag ka hindi siya bone, hindi nagkaroon ng fracture, ang drop jaw ay rabies, right? Ang lockjaw ay tetanus, no? So remember that, no? Pero meron ding drop jaw na fracture yung kanyang mandible. The fracture doon sa part na ng condylar, sa condylar process. Okay, so if you compare the mandible in different animals, in dog it's short, no? It's focused on vertical motion for tearing and biting. While sa horse naman, it's flat for grinding. And then for pig, cutting and grinding. And then for ox, it's large, merong very deep mandible, and extensive for grinding kasi nga they are ruminants, no? Kapag ka matitigas yung mga plants, this is the result, no? Extensive yung or deep, large yung kanyang mandible. So as I mentioned earlier, we have ang very common na fracture dito, no? So I just included this one kasi sometimes kapag ka merong mga drop jaw, hindi lang doon sa condylar part na as I mentioned earlier, the fracture can also happen in the body. Let's say for example here. So if you have this transverse fracture, so you can just put wire, circlage wire. So you just drill and then you can put circlage wire on here, no? It seems very easy, no? Pero ang hirap. I've done this in 2020 during my the start ng aking clinic. Pero parang madali lang pero ang hirap. And we have a lot of cases na meron ding fracture dito sa symphysis dito. Especially sa cat kapag road traffic accident. Dito sa let's say sa letter F, kapag may fracture dito, yung sa symphysis, ganito din ang ginagawa. So, circulate wire that connects the two symphysis, the symphysis. Next, we proceed with the vertebrae, you know. So we have the different types of vertebrae. I think you have to know this, the Amphicoelus. Example of this is the fish. We have the Procellus, we have the snakes, no? And we have Opisthocelus, the turtles, no? We have biconvex, we have Amphiplatyan for mammals, and then we have the Heterocoelus for birds, no? So please take note of the differences, no? Mostly for mammals, it's flat on both ends. On sa fish, it's concave on both ends. Biconvex, convex naman yung sa turtles. For snakes, convex yung kanyang back, it's concave sa kanyang front. Sa turtles, nagbaliktad, no? Front is convex, the back is concave. So you have to know this. And then kapag saddle-like na vertebrae, then it's for birds. Okay? So remember, most common na vertebrae na na-encounter natin are the mammals, no? So both ends are flat sa mammals. Their vertebrae are called Amphiplatyan. And I know you've already done reading about the vertebrae pero pasadaan lang natin, no? So ang pinaka-common na differences ng mga vertebrae, you have to know the different processes, no? So we can see this that sa atlas, iba yung kanyang process. It is called yung kanyang spinous process. It's called the dorsal tubercle of the atlas, no? Parang yung pinaka spinous na niya, spine niya. While the axis parang pointed, tapos mahaba yung kanyang spinous process, no? And then for the other cervical vertebra, except the atlas or axis, medyo mahaba na, no? Matangkad ng kanyang spinous process, no? So for dog, flexible yung kanilang cervical vertebrae, and the atlas and axis are specialized for extensive head and neck movement. For horse naman, it's long, no? There's this emphasis on the supporting of the head kasi dapat mahaba tapos talagang matibay for horse kasi nga nag-graze sila, extensive grazing. It provides stability. And then for pig, it's short and stout cervical vertebra. It's limited yung kanyang flexibility. And then for ox, it's large, strong, just like the horse kasi nga they graze. And then we have a condition called the intervertebral disc disease. No? Usually this disease very common to the longer yung mahahaba. Example ay Dachshund. Example Dachshund. I also see this in Chihuahua, small breed, no. So kapag ka intervertebral disease, so yung disc nagkakaroon ng prolapse, no? So you can see here, this is a normal disc. Kapag ka merong, let's say for example, infection, merong trauma, nagtatalon-talon yung patient, no? Predisposed siya sa ganitong problem, yung disc lalabas siya from intervertebra, and kapag ka lalabas siya, it can press to the spinal cord ito. So if there's a problem na ganito, there will be a limited signal transmission. So pwedeng mag-cause ng pain, pwedeng mag-cause ng lameness, and the rest, no? So in figure 1, we can see this is a normal vertebrae. There's no intervertebral disc disease. So makikita natin na itong disc na to, nucleus pulposus, na andun lang sa gitna, na doon sa kanyang intervertebra. And then on this disease 1, nag-extrude na yung kanyang disc papunta doon sa spinal cord. So na displace na ito yung spinal cord. You can also say prolapse intervertebral disc disease, no? This cannot be seen in a normal X-ray. Sometimes you can just assume na merong or pwedeng merong intervertebral disc disease based on the presentation, and also sabi ko based on the predisposition, the breed, no, especially sa Dachshund. And how do you diagnose this? Definite diagnosis should be CT scan, no? Or meron tayong very common sa Pilipinas, no? Next, we have the thoracic vertebra, no? So the difference of the thoracic vertebra, the numbers, we know that the dog is 13, the horse is 18, pig is 14 to 15, and ox is 13, no? So they are moderately sized doon sa dog, and tall, very tall sa mga horse. Kita nyo naman, no? And then for pig, they are shorter in the compact and less pronounced spinous process. So remember, the horse has a very tall spinous process, while the pig is a short spinous process. And then for ox, dapat strong, very strong dapat ang spinous process ng mga to, kasi sometimes they are used for working, no? Yun yung pinaglalagyan ng mga, let's say for sa kalesa or sa others, no? Lalo na sa ox and also sa carabaos. Tall yung kanilang spinous process doon sa kanilang thoracic vertebra. And then we have the lumbar vertebrae, no? Again, with the number, it varies, depends on the species, no? So the horse has 6. So the pig naman is either 6 or 7, and ox is 6, and the dog is 7, no? Very long transverse process ang dog, no? So while the horse, they have overlapping transverse process ng kanilang lumbar vertebrae, no? And pig, well-developed transverse process naman sa kanila for the lumbar vertebrae, and again, ox is overlapping. So parehas yung horse and ox with regards to the transverse process of the lumbar vertebra. And the longest among these sa transverse process ng lumbar vertebra will be the dog. Okay. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, Meron ding meninges doon sa spinal cord, no? The same, yung meninges, yung arrangement, no? The outermost meninges will be the dura mater, next arachnoid, and then the pia mater. So we've done cases of exposed yung kanyang spinal cord. Let's say for example this patient na tinaga na naman. Patient ko ito sa Cambodia. So ang kagandahan nito, it's not reaching the spinal cord. Kaya medyo maganda yung prognosis ng patient na ito, no. So hindi pa na-open yung meninges kasi the moment that the meninges are compromised, no. The moment that the meninges are compromised, and very common na magkaroon ng brain
Pressure.
inflammation, uh, encephalitis or meningitis that will eventually lead to encephalitis, no. Pwedeng mag-ascend to the brain, no. So ganun. Doon sa brain ng dog, it's very important or very common yung meningitis and encephalitis, no? Lalo na sa rabies. Okay. Supposedly, the central nervous system or the brain, the central nervous system is composed of the brain and the spinal cord, no? And supposedly, there's nothing that, or it's very, very limited ang pwedeng makapasok doon sa ating central nervous system due to the what we call that, the BBB, the blood-brain barrier, no? There are only limited substances that can pass through the blood, excuse me, the blood-brain barrier, and there are only few antibiotics that can cross the blood-brain barrier. Kaya kapag ka merong meningitis, ang hirap i-treat kasi sometimes hindi nakakarating doon yung mga antibiotics kapag ka meron ng bacterial infection sa ating central nervous system, no? One of the common antibiotics na merong or that can cross the central nervous system would be the sulfa drug, sulfadiazine, sulfamethoxam, trimethoprim sulfa, no? That's one of the antibiotics that can pass through the blood-brain barrier. So, yun lang yung sometimes kapag nasuspect mo na merong meningitis that involves bacteria, then one of the antibiotics that can be tried will be that sulfa drugs, no? Next, the sacral vertebrae, no? In dogs, it's numbered 3. In horse, it's 5. In pig, 4. And the ox is 5. Another difference on the sacral vertebra is whether it's fused or not, no? So for dog, it forms a narrow sacrum and provide flexibility. And for horse, ito yung robust, no, weight bearing kasi for running and riding. And for pig, the sacrum is broad. Again, it's because it needs to be robust, no. And then for ox, sacral vertebra is large and has broad sacrum. Well, again, sorry, they are fused. These 3 vertebrae and the sacrum, they are fused in all species pala, no? And we have here the vertebral formula. You can memorize this, but during our board exam, walang lumabas na ganito. Kasi I think this thing that very overused with regards to the board exam questions. So, but it's okay. It's good for you to memorize this vertebral formula of the different animals. No? So you have to maybe emphasize on who has the highest thoracic vertebra, number of thoracic vertebra, which has the smallest number of thoracic vertebra. So pinakamadaming will be the horse, pinakamaliit would be the fowl, And then that other pwedeng ganun ang gawin niyo sa other vertebrae, no? Let's say for example the sacral vertebra, which the only animal that has 3 sacral vertebrae would be the dog. Next, we proceed with the ribs. So it's very important also for us to know the number of pairs of ribs. No? Pinakamadami again is the horse. And then you have to know the number of sternal and external or true or false vertebrae. And then for sternebrae, ang pinakamadami, remember, dog. No? While the horse has the most rib pairs. Okay. So the difference of the ribs in the different animals is as follows. No, narrow yung horse, strongly curved, and dorsal third. No, so slightly curved dito sa mas mataas. These are only for dog and ox, pero dun sa horse, sa kanyang dorsal third ay medyo curved. No, dun sa bovine, wide and flat dun sa pababa. No, wide, flat shaft. Yung kanyang shaft is flat and then long neck. And for pig, narrow shaft and distinct angle. And then for dog, cylindrical yung kanyang shaft. No? So it's very important to diagnose rib fracture, yung radiography. No? We can see the ribs here in this X-ray. So what can you also see on this radiograph? No, makikita natin na merong mga opacities, no? Merong mga bukol-bukol inside the thoracic cavity that probably are tumors. Now I just want to show sana yung ribs. Ito pala yung na-attach ko na patient namin. So I pays to see also na with this radiograph, merong other problems like opacities na parang tumor opacities here. Okay, so we can see these cases. They are fractured rib, no? If you know the answer, maybe you can can write in the chat box, no? Ano ba yung usually na condition kapag ka merong fractured rib, no? On this radiograph of the patient, makikita natin hindi madaling makita yung fracture na rib, pero we can see that there is a connection na from the thoracic cavity to the skin, no? Meron ng air dito. So kapag ka nagbe-breathe yung patient, lumalabas yung air into the skin or into the subcutaneous tissue. There is a term here, hopefully maalala ko. Okay. Meron yung term doon sa kapag ka meron ng air doon sa kanyang mga subcutaneous tissue or under the skin, no? So what is the answer for this? No, the fractured rib can lead to condition called pneumothorax. It's different from pneumothorax. Kapag ka pneumothorax, usually kapag ka nagkaroon ng break doon sa pleural cavity, kapag ka na puncture yung lungs, yung air pupunta doon sa thorax, makikita mo talaga doon sa X-ray, no? But for flail chest ang tawag doon kapag ka nagkaroon ng yung condition na condition itong question na to, ano? Fractured rib can lead to condition called the flail chest. Yun ang tawag ko. Pero yun kapag ka nagkaroon ng puncture yung lungs and mag-accumulate ng air dito sa thorax, that's pneumothorax. And then Yung kapag lumabas naman, kapag na-puncture itong thoracic cavity, tapos lumabas doon sa skin, yung mga air, yun na yung tawag, very good doc, yung emphysema, no? Subcutaneous emphysema, no? Skin emphysema, no? And very good. Usually kapag nagkaroon ng emphysema na walang fractured rib, let's say for example na puncture lang yung thorax tapos lumabas, usually you have to wrap the patient. Meron kaming patient na ganito, hindi ko na-attach pero talagang lumubo siya kasi kapag the moment na nagbe-breathe siya, na lumalabas na under the skin yung mga air. So we have to close yung butas kung saan nanggagaling yung air. So yes, that's emphysema. So that's flail chest dun sa yung question na dun sa slide, no. Pero yes, yung mga other na sinabi ninyo are sagot dun sa mga sinabi ko na question. Next, we proceed with the scapula, no. The scapula in horse, its spine fades distally and the trabecuous tubercle is present. The bovine naman, distinctly triangular spinous process. The spinous process also divide the lateral surface into an equal fossa, no? So, bali, hindi sila parehas unequal yung kanilang surface, no? Sa pig, it's a prominent trapezius tubercle overhanging infraspinous fossa. And dog, the spine bisect lateral surface, no? Parang the same, yung equal yung bisection ng sa dog. What is the importance of the scapula? So it attaches, yun yung nag-attach doon sa, iba usually if you do the amputation, kapag severe mo yung scapula, mawawala na yun yung front leg, no? Front limb. So it's very important na yung scapula kapag you're doing amputation, there is importance of doing full scapulectomy or doing the amputation sparing the scapula. I don't know if one of you has seen amputation na buong scapula niya ay tinatanggal. So for road traffic accident na fracture dito sa kanyang just below the scapula, and meron parang space na pwedeng pang-closean ng fracture, I prefer not to remove the scapula kasi, well, scapula is pneumatic bone or spongy bone. So it's important for bone marrow ba? Nagkakaroon ng bone marrow. Basta, yeah, I want to spare always yung scapula as long as there's no damage, no? But for cases na, let's say for example, tumor, it's good to remove or to do the scapulectomy, no? So we can see this X-ray in here. This is sign of bone problem, bone tumor, bone cancer. Parang you can see, no? Yung density ng bone, medyo and then parang merong mga beaten. How you describe this one, no? Very rough yung surface, no? Something is going on this patient, no? So we can see this patient both, no? I think we did not do any surgery on this, no? Kasi I think it's useless if you do the amputation kasi nga both legs, most likely this already is advanced and it's affected almost all part of the bones, no? So kapag unilateral lang yung affected, then you can do amputation. So as I was saying, for osteosarcoma or cancer sa bone, usually kapag like this, no, this is humerus na, and then this is the scapula. Kapag ganito, I would prefer to do, kasi malapit na doon sa scapula, I would prefer to do full scapulectomy on this patient, no, para ma-spare natin na kasi in the future kapag ganito, kapag nag-spread na yung cancer cells, most likely na susunod na yung scapula. So, and baka meron na din dyan, kahit hindi nakikita sa x-ray na merong lesions, most likely, probably it already invades the nearby bone na just take time na bago makita doon sa x-ray yung lesions, no? So you can do scapulectomy. This is a healthy bone. Makita ninyo, a healthy bone. Maganda yung smooth siya and uniform yung kanyang density. Unlike this one, so it's bright here, parang ito yung dark here. So what are the causes of bone cancers? No? Of course, mutation, nagkakaroon ng mutation. One example of cause of the cancer sa bone. And also fracture. No? Sometimes cancer can be an outcome of a long fracture, non-healing fracture, and na bone. No? So, lalo na sa mga patient na may problem with the kanilang genes, no? And one predisposition factor can be yung pagkaroon ng fracture or non-healing wound. And then we have the humerus, no? In humerus, the horse humerus bicipital groove is divided by a ridge, no? Sa bovine naman, massive lateral tuberosity and overhangs bicipital groove. In pig, lateral tuberosity almost converts bicipital groove into foramen. And in dog, single lateral tuberosity and coronoid and olecranon and fossa communicate through supratrochlear foramen. In humans, ang pinaka-common na na-fracture would be the head of or the surgical neck. Not head. It's the neck of the humerus or the neck of the long bone. It's mostly common na nangyayari yung fracture. So, it pays to know the most common bones na na-fracture per animals. This is a study that I researched, no, that I've seen, I came across, no. So the radius in ulna, they're very commonly fractured sa dog, no. While sa hind limb, it's the femur, and for the pelvis, it's the ilium, no. So very common yung sa hind limb, femur, yun yung laging na-fracture, lalo na kapag sa shelter medicine, no? It's either sa mid-shaft, fracture, or ang more common also is the head of the femur, no? Kapag magkaroon ng head of the femur fracture, I think yung basic na paglagay ng pin or wire hindi mostly ginagawa, no. If there's a fractured femoral head, usually ang ginagawa ng mga rich countries and rich owners, they can do hip replacement or replace na nila yung head of the femur into like a metal or different alloys, no. Yun na yung sinasalpak doon instead na pagdugtungin yung na fracture, no. Or other thing that can be done kapag fractured yung femoral head, ang ginagawa is that tinatanggalan lang yung head of the femur, ang tinatawag na femoral head and neck excision or femoral head and neck FHN, osteotomy, no. Kasi if you remove the head of the femur, diba, this is the head of the femur, this is the acetabulum, yun yung nakapasok, no? Kapag nagkaroon ng break here, tanggalin mo lang yung head of the femur, tapos yung, let's say for example, ito yung neck niya, yun na yung nakahang. So, even if head of the femur is fractured, magiging normal pa din yung patient kapag ka nag-heal na yung sugat, no? That's one way of managing femoral head fracture sa dogs, no? So, usually kapag ganitong cases, after surgery, like the next day, dapat you have to encourage the patient to move para hindi siya parang tumigas kapag ka nag-heal kasi merong inflammation doon. So 'di ba dapat in between the head of the femur and the sa acetabulum dapat movable nga yung joint doon, no. So kapag ka natanggal yung head of the femur, ayaw natin na magkaroon ng callus formation tapos mag-permanent na ganun. Gusto natin na movable pa din kahit wala na yung head of the femur. So we have to exercise after doing a surgery, no. Masakit? Yes, no. Next, as I was saying, yung pelvis, very common yung ilium na na-fracture. We have a lot of fractures sa hip din sa clinic, but out of, like, say for example, out of 20, mga isa lang yung pinoproceed na sinisurgery kasi it's expensive and it's complicated. Mahirap kapag mayroong hip fracture, no? Lalo na pagka dito sa acetabulum. Ang ginagawa na lang is cage rest, and cage rest yung patient, they will heal naman yung mga fracture kapag ganun. Ang problema kapag lumiit yung 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 butas, no? Ang problema, we see a lot of patient na magkakaroon ng constipation. Also, it can also have an effect to those female animals na kapag nanganak, no, mahirap na manganak kasi nga lumiit na yung kanilang space, no? Dahil nga doon sa fracture. So, also the radius in ulna, it's commonly fractured dun sa front limb. Pero, again, most cases na nafa-fracture sa part ng patient, sa the whole body would be the hind limb, no? Kasi common ng pagtumalon, no? It's very very common na nangyayari yung pagtumalon, karoon ng meron din tinatawag pala na pag tumalon yung patient, let's say yung cat or yung dog, yung tinatawag na luxated, no? Luxation. Ibig sabihin, yung acetabulum, yung head of the femur, lumabas siya. Ganito dapat, ang nangyayari is lumabas or nag-deviate, no? Yun yung tinatawag natin na luxation. Yun yung tinatawag na hip luxation, no? Okay. So yun yung tinatawag natin na hip luxation. So sometimes hip luxation or na-displace yung femoral head, sometimes namimiss or namimix nila doon sa hip dysplasia. Ang hip dysplasia, it does not mean displaced, no? So iba kasi DIC yung DIS displacement, yun yung displacement. Or ang displacement na yan is yun yung luxation na sinasabi. Yun naman na hip dysplasia na very common sa large breed, let's say for example, sa mga husky or sa mga other breeds, ibig sabihin yung hip dysplasia, DYS dysplasia, no? Merong abnormal development or abnormal growth na doon. So ibig sabihin na nawala na yung capsule in between na yung dapat na capsule na nandoon or ligament na nandoon in between the acetabulum in the bone mismo, no? Kapag ka nagkaroon ng erosion doon, that's what we call hip dysplasia, no? Or other term for hip dysplasia would be arthritis, no? So large breed kasi meron yung early onset of hip dysplasia or osteoarthritis, no? Very common yung osteoarthritis or hip dysplasia kahit na anong breed na kapag ka matanda, no? So do not be confused with the hip dysplasia and hip displacement slash hip luxation. You can also read more about the difference of the two, no? And then as I said, usually dito sa surgical neck, ang common na nafa-fracture, no? So there are different types of fracture. No, I'll just included here, no? So we have the spiral, oblique, and transverse. We have also the comminuted fracture sa baba, no? Simple, wedge, and complex, no? So different type of fracture, different type of management, no? It's either pin, it's either plate, or it's either circlage wire, or the combination, pin and wiring, and also combination of also pin and I don't know if meron gumagawa nun of screws and plates. Okay. So I don't know if we will be discussing this, but I just include anyway the different phases or stages of bone healing, no? So nangyayari ang when I was in Cambodia, no, there is this very good orthopedic surgeon from Russia, no, na she said na kapag ka fracture kahit hindi mo ginagalaw in the future or uh, eventually it will heal even without the intervention basta hindi siya nagagalaw, no? So ang problema lang doon, it will heal but pangit, no? Lalo na kapag hindi siya properly reduced, no? Kapag hindi, ibig sabihin, kapag hindi properly reduced, hindi nag-oppose or hindi nag-align properly ang fracture. Sa fracture repair kasi, let's say sa mga surgeries, ang ginagawa lang namin is to really align those fractured ends and to stabilize those fractured ends para in time the body will heal itself, no? Kasi hindi naman pwedeng na hindi siya parang gagawing brace lang na in the future or dapat in the future hindi tatanggalin na ganun na in the future. So ang pag-repair ng fractures is that we stabilize lang and we have to align para yung katawan easier for it to heal, no? So yeah, kahit walang fracture, the bone will heal pero pangit, no? Pero kapag ka na reduce properly, mas maganda naman yung pag-remodel. So we have this different stages: hematoma formation, bleeding, and then magkaroon ng hematoma, and then we have the callus formation, and then kapag ka madami ng callus, there will be ossification of callus, no? Bone formation na yon. And then eventually magkakaroon na ng remodeling, no? Just like for example for skin or wound healing, no? Meron yung remodeling, no? Parang pinapolish nila, parang finishing touch yung remodeling, no? So you can also take note the different months yung kailan, no? So kaya at least 4 months totally na mag-heal yung dog fracture if that's the case. And energy healing water. And sabi ko, you can choose to not to ngayon sabihin ko na you can choose not to remove yung mga plates or screws. Pero if the patient is young, it's better for you to remove kasi hindi pa nag-properly close yung mga growth plate niya. And baka mag-grow pa yung bone ng patient. So mas maganda na ma-remove yung mga plates, screws. Okay. Next, we proceed with the ulna, no? Ito na pala yung fuse na sinasabi ko, no? In horse, the ulna is fused 2/3 of the way down the shaft of the uh, radius. While in bovine, the ulna is complete. They are not fused, no? It projects distally beyond the radius and as the styloid process. In pig, the ulna is massive. It articulates with the radius and the ulnar carpal. While in dog, it's never fused and the olecranon has tuberculate summit. Parang tatlo yung kanyang tubercles. Again, this is also one of the most fractured sa forelimb. This is the mostly na fracture in terms of the forelimb ng dog. No? And then we proceed with the metacarpal and the digits. In horse, the third metacarpal is functional. Second and fourth are vestigial, or they are called the split bones. Okay? And wait. Stop power off. Wait lang. Okay, I think medyo matatapos na tayo, no? Huli, buhay pa kayo. Okay. So in horse, the third metacarpal is functional. Second and fourth are called the split bones, or they are vestigial. Nawawala. And the third digit is present, no? And bovine naman, the 3 and 4 metacarpals are weight-bearing. Fifth is vestigial. 4 digits present, of which 3 and 4 are functional only, no? In pig, there are 4, 2, 3, 4, and 5 metacarpals, and all metacarpals bear weight, no? In dog, metacarpals 1 to 5, and all of these are bearing digit, no? And digit 1 possess only 2 phalanges. So sa digits ng dogs, no? Kapag na-fracture yung isa, one digit is fractured, it's okay not to do any surgery or any intervention kasi nga the other digits or other metacarpals will be weight bearing, no? Hindi konti masyado yung effect niya. If there are two fractures, 2 digits ang affected, then you can do intervention para ma-stabilize and immobilize yon para mag-heal, no? So remember that, no, if there's one fracture on the digits, no need to do anything. Maybe pain reliever kapag nasasaktan yung patient. So we've mentioned, or we've tackled and I think in the orientation, yung kapag na severe yung kanyang ang kanyang Achilles tendon. Kapag na-severe yung Achilles tendon, ganito yung mangyayari, no? All the metacarpals and it will become yung parang yun na yung pinaka-sole niya, no? And kapag gastrocnemius tear naman, it can lead to this type of stance, no? Medyo maliliit yung kanyang angle, no? So, you remember that yung gastrocnemius na connect doon kapag it's parang dorsal niya itong Achilles tendon. Meron connection dito sa part na to, no? So it's very important na these are spared, no? Kapag nagagawa tayo ng mga procedures, no? Iwasan natin na ma-severe itong tendon ng gastrocnemius. Okay. I think that is the last slide for this review session, no? I hope na meron kayong mga natutunan, no? Kahit hindi ganun ka-scholastic, no? More of a clinical point of view, more of a clinical setting, ano? More on a practice setting yung ating review, no? Ah, ganun pa din yung mga susunod na reviews natin, no? Kasi nga, as I said, if you want na talagang book-based or it's a lecture-based, you can just read the manual, no? I don't want naman na yung kung ano yung manual is yun din yung babasahin natin, no? So, do you have any clarification on our second day of anatomy, no? Parang third meeting so far, no? Okay pa ba? Okay pa ba tayo?
Yes, Doc.
Okay. So, hopefully in the future you can yes, yung presentation, it's in the canvas, no? Wait lang, i-project ko lang. Lahat ng presentation, lahat ng ano, makikita ninyo here. Wait. Ayan. Makikita natin dito sa anatomy, under anatomy, anatomy video recordings, i ipapublish or i-upload ko dito yung mga video recordings plus yung PDF file nitong presentation natin, no? Okay. Okay. So, lahat ng mga ano, mare-record natin and mga supplemental din i-upload ko din dito, no? Do you have other ano concerns? So most likely by ngayon din after this meeting, I will be converting the video and upload na immediately. No? Okay, so kapag wala na kayong question, if you have some question, just send me message sa Canvas or sa Facebook. No? If you have questions na, then it's either you continue with your review or pwede na kayong matulog and review ulit. No? Thank you, and see you again tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you po, Doc.
Thank you sa inyong lahat. Uh, recording, stop recording.